Stalker in the forest.
Okay, so this happened to me earlier, and I don't think I'll be sleeping tonight. Note, I did report this to the non-emergency police just because it was so weird, and I absolutely got the whole this person could hurt someone feeling as I walked past them. I also revisited the hunter's den during the day, with someone else this time, and got some photos. I'm a female currently staying in a remote part of the United Kingdom and having a break from working, which means more time to pursue my hobbies, one being photography. I had scoped out an abandoned-looking hunter's den and a horror-esque tree formation in a nearby forest, and set my camera and tripod up as the sun was coming down, for that extra creepy vibe. As I'm happily taking photos, I see a woman pass the entrance to the arched trees. I recognize her as she had parked her car next to mine when I arrived. She passes the entrance a couple of times, looking at me for prolonged periods with each time as she goes past. I assume she wants to come up this path, but sees that I'm taking photos, so decides to walk elsewhere. Approximately 5 minutes go by, and she appears again, this time walking towards me, dragging her left side slightly with this strange limp. She must have decided to take this path after all. I take a couple of slightly longer exposure photos, as this is adding perfectly to the kind of chilling shots I'm going for, and I'm in my creative element. She stops once and stares at me for a few seconds, then starts walking slowly towards me again. I ask her if she's okay. I'm starting to put my camera away at this point and readying my tripod to use in self-defense if necessary, because the vibe I'm getting is way off. She starts grunting at me, then stops and stares again. It's at this point that the woman is close enough for me to realize that she's actually a man in women's clothing and a wig. His legs are slim in his skirt and tights, and the long brown hair of his wig sits on his white scarf wrapped around the top of his cashmere jumper. An uncomfortable moment passes, and she starts grunting again, walks towards the edge of the path, grabs a pile of leaves, and starts throwing them around, then grunts some more and walks off aimlessly into the forest. I call my friend to tell her what's happened and ask that she stays on the phone in case this person comes back. I'll just take a couple more photos and then I'm out. I'll go to the hunter's den another time. That. For a good 10 minutes, I hear the crunching of leaves circling me in the forest, and I just convince myself that it's the wildlife. I came here to take ominous photos, and I'm causing my own fear. This tripod will do some damage, and I reckon I can take this guy. Then, absolute silence. I take the photo and haven't seen or heard the person for around 15 minutes now, so I assume I'm safe. I leave the path and see that their car is gone. Thank. However, I very quickly notice that there's a man walking towards me from the entrance. It's the same fucking guy. He's changed into men's attire, shorts, trainers, and a dark t-shirt. And as he walks past me, he shoots me a grin that sends shivers down my spine. I don't scare easily, but this guy just gave off all the wrong signals, causing this overwhelming feeling of dread to wash over me. I'm still on the phone at this point and holding my tripod over my shoulder just in case. I quicken my pace and get back to my car. As I do so, I see him coming out of the lane I had been down, stop, and look around. I pull out my phone and start recording him as evidence of what was happening to show my friend, and he begins to walk towards my car with intent. I filmed him for a while, and then hauled the fuck out of there, driving past his car that he had just moved down the road, and thinking, what in the gray beard just happened? Limping, leaf-throwing forest stalker, I hope we don't meet again.
Movie theater stalker.
I worked at a small-town movie theater for a few years during community college. Creepy guys weren't common, but they definitely weren't rare. I had one in particular who clung on to me. It started the first time he came into the movie theater. I took his ticket order, then his food order, and then gave him his total. The entire time he was just intensely glaring at me. When he handed me his money, he grabbed the back of my hand and said, "Oh, I like your skin." Confused and trying to avoid confrontation, I said, "Thanks, I got it for Christmas," hoping sarcasm would deflect him. It didn't work. For the next year, he came in about every 2 months, and regardless of how long my line of customers was, he would wait in my line every single time. He started to get more aggressive once he realized I was avoiding him. I was behind the counter one day, stalking something. I wasn't alone, but to the customer's view, I was. My coworkers were in the storage room right behind me, door open so they could hear me. And he comes running down the hallway straight towards me. Thankfully, my 6-foot-tall coworker came out of the storage room and he instantly stopped. There were plenty of other things he did. Followed me into theaters, tried to follow me into the bathroom, and he even tried to follow me upstairs to the projection room once. But the creepiest thing was when he waited for me in his car. I don't know if you know, but when you decide to come to the 10:30 showing of whatever movie is out, theater employees have to stay till it's over. I got out of work around 1 a.m. and started to walk to my car. I hear the engine of a car already running, and I notice the old stalker just sitting in his car, smiling at me. I hear the door to his car open, and I see him beeline straight for me. I ran the fastest I have ever ran to my car and locked the doors. Noticing he was beat, he walked back to his car, giving me a death glare the entire time. Let's not meet again.
My run-in with the murderer. Close call.
My skin still crawls thinking about this guy. He saw me shopping for school supplies and things for my new apartment one evening during my first week of grad school and decided I was his mark. I had just moved to my new college town. Didn't even have a cell phone yet after leaving the one my folks paid for during undergrad behind. I was grown and could take care of myself. What a nitwit I was. As I left the parking lot with my purchases, I noticed this truck pull up behind me at the exit. It was late and there weren't too many people out. I pulled out and so did he. It was a few miles down a long retail street with lots of stoplights before my turn. As I drove, I realized the guy in the truck was trying to get my attention. I was in a relationship, so I ignored him. Over the next few miles, he kept trying to get me to look at him. Some red lights he would end up ahead of me, some behind or beside. At every light, he positioned himself so he could stare at me, either directly or in one of his mirrors. His gaze was unwavering, and my anxiety rose. He was driving oddly, speeding up close to my bumper, hitting his brakes when he was right in front of me, swerving close to my car a couple of times. Finally, at a red light where he was beside me, I glanced over and absolutely started to panic when I was met with an unbelievably empty, unwavering stare, and realized he was getting off on the fact that I was terrified, and he was following me, and he was trying to force me to pull over. At one point, I scooted through an intersection on a hard yellow a couple of cars ahead of him, thinking I could shake him. Nope. He went around the cars at the light and ran the red and got back in front of me. A freeway entrance ramp came up, and I tried to fake him out by putting on my signal and getting into the merge lane for it. He took the bait and started up the ramp. I quickly got out of the merge lane and continued straight. Again, I'd hoped to lose him, but he drove his truck down the embankment to keep following. At another light where he was beside me, I pulled through the light and then turned at the last possible second. He made a U-turn and ran another red to follow me. My panic really ramped up at that point. With no cell phone, no sense of direction in a new city, I really didn't know what to do. So I turned on classic rock and forced myself to sing along and forced myself to go the speed limit so I wouldn't crash out of terrified stupidity. I decided to drive to the supermarket across town because I remembered it had a police station in it. He followed me all the way there. He burned out of the lot as soon as he saw all the cop cruisers parked out front. I filed a report and asked for a police escort home. I insisted because something told me this creep was waiting for me to leave the police station. He was. As soon as I pulled out, I saw him. I pulled over and told the officer following me, and he went after him, but the truck had taken off and the cop couldn't catch him. The police got the surveillance video from the first store. It turned out this jerk had been dogging me the entire time I was shopping. I saw him on surveillance footage, following me through the store. I saw him follow me out, close enough to grab my elbow. I saw footage of him circling the lot in his truck, waiting for me to pull out when I took too long to unload my cart. My heart sank. I was able to remember 6 of 7 digits of his plate and the make and model of his truck. In the end, the cops did nothing. They said it was a he said, she said, since the surveillance video didn't catch him doing anything particularly unlawful and was a losing case to try and charge him with anything. I ended up trading vehicles with a friend for a couple of months to try to feel safer, and went on with my life. I had no idea what this disgusting piece of did just a handful of months later until almost 15 years had passed. I was watching a Discovery ID show about the kidnapping and murder of... I almost fell out of my seat when I saw the mugshot of her killer, Aaron Lee Skeen. It was him. I was so disgusted that law enforcement did nothing in my case that I tracked down the investigator in the murder case, and after verifying some things about his vehicle that were changed in the TV reenactment to weed out people making crap up, she took my contact info and official statement. She could neither confirm nor deny that my run-in was with Skeen, but qualified her statement by saying, "At least you don't have to worry about him anymore because he got life without parole." I only wish something could have been done when he terrorized me. Perhaps things would have been different for... So yeah, creepy, murderous, stalker, crazy dude. Let's not ever meet again.